And that's why I believe in you, because that is the greatest purpose. It's to love. Honest. It sounds corny, whatever you want to say. I don't care. I love people because there is freedom and power in loving people.
Hello, all you positive heads out there. Thanks for tuning your beautiful brainwaves into another episode of the Positive Head Podcast, where we are firmly convinced that creating success and happiness is rooted in understanding the ultimate nature of reality and the fact that as human beings, we are all immensely powerful fractals of the one and only source consciousness, which creates and animates all things. Now, of course, understanding this powerful truth is one thing. Applying this incredibly empowering wisdom to everyday life, well, that's another, which is exactly why we provide you with a fresh serving of soul food for thought 5 days a week to help constantly remind you of what matters most. You are it. And I'm your host, Brandon Beecham. I'm the one who will be here with you each and every Wednesday, interviewing a different consciousness changemaker that is also out there working tirelessly to help catalyze change and expand awareness all across Spaceship Earth. On the other 4 weekdays, you can hear me discussing topics such as my favorite thought-provoking quotes, reading and discussing wisdom from empowering books, playing clips from various inspirational spiritual teachers, sharing a bit of mysterious news, taking questions from the audience, and essentially digging into any other mind-expansive topics that will help keep your soul fed by tuning you into positive vibrations on a consistent basis. And you guys have heard me say that if I ever run ads on the show, it will only be with a company that I fully support because I believe their intention is to make a positive difference in the world. Well, I'm pleased to announce that day has arrived and that this episode of the Positive Head Podcast is being brought to you thanks to the support of Gaia. If you're not familiar, Gaia is the go-to source for streaming consciousness content online. And you can sign up for your first month for only 99 cents at gaia.com/positivehead. That's spelled GAIA.com/positivehead. Check it out. All right, all you positive heads. On this week's interview episode, I'm thrilled to have Colby, the psychic rebel, here with me on the show. Colby is a psychic medium, radio host, spiritual teacher, and author of the recently released book, Leap of Faith, How to Build Your Spiritual Business. Hey there, Colby. Welcome to the show.
Hey there. How are you?
I am excellent. Very much looking forward to picking your brain. And in the spirit of doing that, I'm going to start off with the same question I always start off with. You're in an elevator. You have 10 floors to answer. The person next to you looks over and says, "What's your passion?" What do you say?
My passion is helping people find their love and purpose in life.
That sounds like a pretty good passion to me.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's fun.
It is indeed. So, okay, well, let's get into that. How we do that. I want to hear a little bit about your story. You have a pretty interesting story from sort of the business world to as far outside of the traditional business world as you could get. Tell us a little bit about that journey.
It is a pretty abnormal journey. I was a tax manager at a CPA firm for 14 years. I worked in public accounting and, I enjoyed what I do. I didn't wake up and hate going to work. I mean, I enjoyed my work. I enjoyed what I did. I felt like I was helping people. So, it felt pretty good, but there was this other side to me, this deeper side that was getting messages, was feeling there was a deeper purpose to my life. And I wasn't exactly putting it all together, but that nagging feeling was just continuously there. And then I was just having what we call spirit talk to me and just start to push me and guide me. And then it was just through a few things in life that I really realized, wait a second, I'm on the wrong path. I'm supposed to be doing something completely different. So as I started to work psychically and mediumistically, I really realized, hey, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. This is my true passion, to help people, to connect with people in a whole different way. And it was scary to do that. Took a lot of surrendering, but this is what I do now.
Right. Wow. Yeah, it's one of those things to sort of, and of course, interestingly enough, it leads to your book, right? Leap of Faith. So you're on one path and all of a sudden a complete sidetrack. Now, you had a pretty interesting story that I read on your, I believe on your website. Was that where with your neighbor? Was that sort of a key moment for you that you realized this is, I have a gift here that I need to be focusing on more?
Yeah, it definitely was one of those turning points that I was trying to deny. I was definitely trying to stay in accounting. So,
right.
That's safe and it was secure and I definitely made good money. There was no logical reason for me to change careers. And I really fought it and had a hard time with it. And ironically enough, just studying for the CPA exam and having this experience with my neighbor, and really said, wait a second, wow, there's just something, I can't make that up. I can't,
right. Could you share that story with us?
Yeah, sure. So, I'm studying for the CPA exam and I live in a townhome. So at that point, and I shared a wall with the neighbor. And this was a neighbor that I had talked to every once in a while, but certainly was not close to. And a few months prior to this, his mother had passed away. So he was a gentleman probably in his 50s, but none of us were real close to him. And as I was studying for the CPA exam, I was starting to have these massive heart palpitations. I just felt like I was having this heart attack. My heart was racing, and then I just thought of him. So I grabbed another neighbor. I said, hey, I think there's something wrong with our neighbor here. And our backyards kind of connect. I mean, they're not really backyards, kind of like back patios. So I jumped over the cement wall to get into his back patio and let the neighbor in. I know, right? And knocking on the back sliding glass door, and there's no answer. So I just open it up and I go inside. So I've never been inside his home before. He wasn't answering, but I just let myself in. And
wow, that was quite the feeling that you had to go that far, right? I mean, you're really trusting yourself here.
I am just trusting this feeling. And so I go throughout the entire house and he's not home. I mean, he's not even there. And I'm looking at my neighbor and I'm thinking, wow, this is really awkward. Because now
I've officially lost my mind.
I lost my mind. I broke into the neighbor's house.
Right.
So the next day, the neighbor, he knocks on my door and he was kind enough to say, I heard you were looking for me. I'm like, I was doing more than looking for you.
I was breaking and entering.
I was breaking and entering for you. I said, well,
the psychic rebel makes all the sense now. Now I was going to ask that question next, but I already got the answer.
And I said to him, listen, and he's like, well, I was in the hospital. And I said, well, next time something happens, you have to tell me. I was very nervous about you. I was worried. And he said, fair enough. So a couple weeks later, I get the feeling again. Now, that's just the weird thing. I'm studying again, exact same situation, exact same feeling. Now, this time I'm just going crazy. I really do think I am crazy off my mind. And now I can't call that same neighbor to come help me because she knows I was wrong the first time. And I I jump in the man's backyard again. But this time he's on to me because the back sliding glass door is locked. So now I can't even get into his house. And I'm thinking, what do I do? And, I call the police. I mean,
wow.
I know I look crazy. And I call the police and I tell them they need to come right away. And so, it's LA. It takes them about an hour to get there. But two men show up and I, open the garage door, let them in the back. And I said, I think he's inside. I think something's really wrong. And they tried a sliding glass door. Now, I already know it's locked, but I have to let them try it. And they said, hey, it's locked. What do you want us to do? We can break it down. And I was like, God, no, don't break it down, because, I know he wasn't there the first time. Well, there happened to be a small little window above. And I said, well, what about the window? And they said, well, we can put you through the window. But,
Wow.
it was really too tiny for them to fit in. And so these two men lifted me up. These two officers lifted me up, and I wiggled through this window. Luckily, it was open, really. And I wiggled through the window, and I go inside his house, and I walk into the living room, and there he was, passed away in his recliner. His eyes are open. He's passed away. And and in that moment, I have to be honest, in that moment, all of that heart and anxiety, it just was calm. And it just was a sense of peace. And there was just this overwhelming sense of love. Like he's like, there you go. You got me. There you go. I'm okay now. And I felt like, I know he didn't pass alone. Like, I know somehow I was connected to his soul. And I opened up the door and I let the officers in. And, because of the situation, they had to do an autopsy. And I did get to meet his sister, who said in the autopsy that they were able to find that he had passed away from heart failure, and that I had found that the police had found him within the hour of his passing away.
Wow.
So it seems, incredible, but at the same time, it was there. I mean, I was 2 weeks off. So I think at some point, I must have been knowing but it's interesting, because how many people, I think, to get that feeling the first time is crazy enough. But to get it a second time, and then a second time, not only to just try to get a neighbor to go in, which I wasn't able to do. Now I call the police. Like, it's just crazy. So I think after that situation, you go, maybe I'm supposed to be doing something else.
Right. Wow. What a trip. It reminds me, I've had a few, what I would consider psychic experiences myself, and one of the biggest was I was like 10 years old, maybe 11 years old, and I'm sitting in Sunday school one Sunday, I would always go to church with my grandmother and spend the weekend at my grandparents' house, and I just had this overwhelming feeling that my grandfather would pass away that day, and I sort of played out the scenario in my head as like I remember looking at my watch and seeing the date and and all these things, and a few hours later he had a heart attack, and that was sort of me as a kid. I haven't had anything like that since, as far as having a feeling about someone's death or anything, but that instantly made me think of that story I hadn't really thought of in a long time, but. Yeah, it kind of leads to, I guess, a good question. I mean, do you believe anyone has the ability to sort of tap into this stuff, or is it, and I think I know what your answer will be, is everyone has it to some degree, but then there's people who it's maybe their calling. It's sort of like not everyone's meant to be Michael Jordan, but a lot of people can hit a free throw, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think everybody is absolutely everybody is intuitive and has the ability to receive hits and gather information. They certainly have the ability to develop their own gifts to a degree and maybe even connect to a spirit here and there. But I do agree with you that, and then there's mediums. There are mediums that can connect to spirit, that do have that gift, because they do feel that mediums are born because it comes from the soul. But as you said, I think there are other mediums that, even if they try not to do this work, spirit says, you're coming with us. You already signed up. Suck it up, buttercup. Let's go.
Right.
So there are the Michael Jordans, I think, of the world.
Yeah, right.
Of the spiritual world.
Yeah, so that kind of leads, your path now from accounting. Now you've had this sort of this big hit, so to speak, with the neighbor, and now you actually, speaking of being a medium, you have went through Lisa Williams, who's a well-known medium, had a television show a few years back, if I recall.
Yes.
And you've went through her program to develop your own medium skills in recent years.
Yeah, absolutely. So. Right. So, and that's the thing too. You have a lot of people that criticize. They'll say, "Oh, well, I have natural gifts." Well, of course, the mediums have natural gifts, but like anything, you want to develop and strengthen your gifts and take them to a level beyond what's natural. Take them to a level that allows you to push and excel, like anything. Yeah. And you want any professional to study their craft, I would hope.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So Lisa provides this platform in which she'll do that. She'll just push you and teach you in a way that you have to fully surrender to your gift, fully surrender to that spirit. And I think when you do that, that's really when your gift can truly take off and get to a whole new level. So I spent several years studying with her, and then she's got this program where she then has her own master teacher. So she handpicked certain people to say, these are the people that I want to represent my work overall, and I want them to be master teachers to help teach others. So that was a 9-month program, and it was 3 weeks in person in New York, and I became a master teacher. So I now teach the advanced psychic medium course that I took a few years ago. I now teach it, and there's several of us. Wow. This. Yeah, it's so, it's kind of nice. It's very full circle. It's like there's a part of you that says, this is unbelievable. How radically different my life is, but how much more fulfilling it is and beautiful. Yeah. And now I get to help those students, show them something within themselves that maybe they didn't see before, or give them a level of confidence within themselves that, hey, you've got this. You've just got to surrender to it. Come on, let's do it. So it's been incredibly, it's been a lot of fun. The last 4 days, we just finished, actually. We just finished it's a 12-week long program. And then it has 4 days in person. And so 4 days from 9 to 6, this group, it's nonstop working. It's exercises, and they're tough exercises, and there's study, and there's training, but it has been fun. I mean, even in these 4 days, to see this group and where they went to from A to Z, it's the most rewarding thing I've ever personally been involved with, just to see the level of development even in those 4 days.
Wow. Yeah, that's really bringing it full circle, huh?
Yeah, it is. It is.
So can anyone sign up for your classes? And if someone were to want to do this intensive course, is there any sort of prerequisite to it, or is it just something, and where would they sign up and so forth?
Well, if anyone goes to my website, psychicrebel.com, they can see any personal classes that I'm teaching. Sometimes I'll do a circle. Sometimes I'll do a workshop. So they can always stay up to my calendar just by visiting the website. If they want to be certified by Lisa Williams, they can go to lwissd.com and look at her courses and classes, and then they can see if it's one that I'm teaching on her behalf. So There's just kind of a couple ways to go about it.
Gotcha. So I have a question that I kind of mentioned throughout a few minutes ago. Psychic Rebel. Where did the rebel piece come from? Besides breaking and entering, we've got that. Yeah. Is there any other psychic crimes?
I know, right? Anything else I want to share that's illegal? Let me think
exactly.
Well, the rebel came. It's almost this twofold thing, but really it was a drop in from spirit. Sometimes when you get a flash of information, that usually shows it's from spirit. It's an insight somehow.
Yeah.
So I was sitting at a table with a friend, and she's gifted, and we were just talking, and this was several years ago. And I said, out of the blue, I just heard psychic rebel. I wonder what that means. And she stops and she's like, oh my goodness, that's you. And I was like, it is me. And that was it. I mean, it just stopped from that moment on. I mean, that was it. I heard it. I said it out loud to her, asked her what it meant. She's like, hey, that's you. And I agreed. I felt it was just from when she said it. And so psychic rebel is a couple things. I think because I really rebelled against doing the work, right? Yeah, I mean, I tried everything to not do the work. I don't think you go into taxes and accounting. I couldn't be more opposite. So I think that's it. And then I think when I did go into the work and I surrendered, really work differently. So just how I work and how I represent is also psychic rebel. So it's really that twofold of not like anyone else, and really tried not to do it.
Yeah. Right. That's great. So you also do, speaking of psychic rebel, there's a psychic rebel live radio show. Tell us about that.
Yeah, I do a show. It's on ubnradio.com, and I do it every other Thursday night at 6:00 Pacific time. And it's a blast. So it's a live show. It's a live video stream, live audio stream. It's on my Facebook page, Psychic Rebel, so people can watch it live. And it's really fun. I will get a expert in the field, in the industry, another psychic or another medium or teacher or something like that. And they don't have to work the same way as I work. It's just interesting to get someone on the show and find out about how they work and how they connect and what their perception is on things. And a lot of times we'll take live callers. And so it's a lot of fun. I try to make it fun. I try to make it very realistic. I mean, I think a lot of these shows, as you may have heard too, Brandon, a lot of the shows, like, they try to be like holier than thou or so hysterical or, I want to make it realistic. I can't expect, if my goal or my desire is to get everyday person who, may not do this work professionally, but I still want them to believe in it, or I still want them to be open to the concept, that I have to show it to them in a way that makes sense. I have to show it to them in a way that is very real. So that's what I try to do with the show. Like, hey, let's make it fun. We'll make fun of you. We'll make fun of me. We'll make fun of spirit, but we're also going to bring through some love and some healing and some real grit to it. Yeah. So that's what I try to do.
Beautiful. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It's something I strive to do on this show as well, as always just being as transparent as possible. Or if I bring up something, I do daily shows as well, and talking about something on a daily show, hey guys, I don't know. This feels true. This sounds true. I don't really know, but it's interesting. Let's talk about it, And so it's never like, oh, I've got every single answer. Of course, the things that I truly feel speak to me, in a way that's very empowering, then I certainly don't hold back, but I'm also very transparent with my own sort of issues. And I always say that I'm like, hey, I'm doing this show first and foremost for myself. I need this. We teach best what we most need to learn. And if you benefit from it, excellent. I love that. That's what I want to do, and I think that sort of authenticity really resonates with people. And I haven't tuned into your show, but I definitely will, because I can hear that is sort of a common thread with you, and I definitely resonate with that.
Oh, thanks. Thank you. Yeah, it's a fun show. We have a good time.
All right. Well, now seems like a good moment to take a quick minute to tell those of you who aren't familiar a bit about our sponsor, Gaia. I've been a big fan of Gaia for many years now, which is why they're the only content provider I've ever reached out to in regards to potentially supporting this podcast. So needless to say, I'm very excited they're now supporting the show. Gaia truly is my personal go-to source for streaming consciousness content on the web. They have an incredible 7,000 plus exclusive videos covering 5,000 years of wisdom. Just to give you an example, on the show Missing Links, the incredible researcher Greg Braden explores all the biggest questions concerning who we are, where we come from, where we're going, by connecting the missing links between science and spirituality to complete our understanding of humanity's history and to better understand the interconnectedness of all things. Awesome, right? And that's just one example. As you guys constantly hear me say, it's a daily conscious effort to maintain an elevated vibration. And if you're looking to go deep down the rabbit hole to do so, then Gaia is the best place I know of to do it, period. And you can sign up for your first month for only 99 cents at gaia.com/positivehead. That's spelled GAIA.com/positivehead. Check it out. So, you just wrote a book. Congratulations on that. That's a big first, and you're definitely a busy woman. Leap of Faith: How to Build Your Spiritual Business. This definitely resonated with me as just the title, as a as I would say, a serial entrepreneur and spiritually minded individual. Tell us a little bit about the book.
Well, the book was designed to help anyone who is trying to build a holistic, metaphysical, spiritual practice. I mean, basically, it really is designed for any entrepreneur that is looking to build their own business, in which they would kind of have to be their own service or their own product. So that's it really can apply to so many other industries. So that's really why I put spiritual. I was trying to be as all encompassing as possible. And it came from, when coming from that tax world, I knew a lot about businesses. I know how certain things work, the level of professionalism. I also could just see, after doing reviews of thousands of tax returns, what was making a company successful, what companies were standing out. You could just see this pattern. And when I went into the spiritual work and seeing all these other light workers, they're amazing light workers, but a lot of them don't have a business background. They don't have a business experience. So they really had no clue that they needed to apply for a city business license, or they didn't understand that they should have a professional headshot or a clean website or things like that. So I was teaching this workshop even a few years ago. I would teach this workshop, again, more just to share the information, like, hey, you guys need to know this. Like, this is important. You can't just keep doing what you're doing without reporting it. So I would teach this workshop, and then this book came to me. I was like, wait a second, I can't just keep teaching the workshop. So literally, the moment I decided I was going to write this book, the whole structure of the book just came out in about 10 minutes. It was like I put Post-it notes up on the wall, and I just laid it all out. And then I sat in a chair, like pretty much that day, and just spent 15 hours a day, at least, just sitting in the chair writing. I really stopped seeing clients for that bit of time and just hammered out this book. And a lot of it was so channeled. I mean, it was kind of interesting because there's been some people that are taking quotes from it. And I remember they're putting up quotes, and I'm thinking, well, who wrote that? And then, I was like, that's good. Who is that? And they grabbed it from the book, and I was like, I don't even remember writing that quote.
I know,
You know how that goes. So it's been really exciting, and the book has done well, and it is helping people. So it's been really fun.
Yeah, that's definitely an interesting phenomenon. That happened to me recently. One of the first times someone quoted me from a show and posted it, and I'm like, I read it, and then I'm like, oh yeah, that's really cool. I didn't have any recollection of saying it, and then I'm like, hold on, that's my name after it. Like, what? Huh? Hold on, when did I say that? But so I definitely that was a cool experience. So I know exactly what you're talking about. I actually, speaking of quotes, there, as soon as you started talking about this, and just the title of the book made me think of a Terence McKenna quote that someone had made recently into a really cool like cartoon with this quote kind of as a story. And I'm going to read it real quick just because it feels like it's so much in resonance with sort of the idea of taking that plunge, in your case, out of the accounting world into this whole other realm. And now you've got a book helping other people to do that. This is a Terence McKenna quote, and it is, "Nature loves courage. You make the commitment and nature will respond to that commitment by removing impossible obstacles. Dream the impossible. Dream and the world will not grind you under. It will lift you up. This is the trick. This is what all these teachers and philosophers who really counted, who really touched the alchemical gold, that is what they understood. This is the shamanic dance in the waterfall. This is how magic is done, by hurling yourself into the abyss and discovering it's a featherbed."
Oh, I love that.
Isn't it good? Oh, it's so good. And there's this great cartoon that someone made sort of like facing your monster, your demons and stuff. And it's great. It's really, really great. So I instantly thought of that.
That's really good.
Yeah, you made me think of that. So,
it's really neat. It's like, it's so neat how these things come to us. You know what I mean? It's like one of the quotes from the book. It was what was it? So one of the things they grab, right? When we are challenged, we grow. Each time you try something new or give yourself the permission to step into your path, you are growing. Life is not about becoming stagnant and complacent. It's a journey of self-discovery and a process of building. I was like, oh, that's
beautiful.
Yeah.
Very well said and very true. So I have a question for you. As someone who is, connecting with the other side and so forth, and obviously having a glimpse maybe that many don't, what are your thoughts on what's going on currently on the planet as far as, you hear a lot of people talking about sort of a spiritual revolution happening, 2012 being a big turning point and lots of people waking up. And it seems to be the case from my perspective. I'm curious what your thoughts are on this whole concept.
Well, I do feel that people are becoming more receptive. Absolutely. And I feel that, the idea of the gift and intuition and connecting to another realm has always been there. So it's not that realm is new. And there's been times in history where basically this was the way to work. Everybody was spiritual. I mean, people went to light workers for guidance and healing and thought of it as the oracle and the answers. So it's just been proven through history. Sometimes that door is open, sometimes it's closed. And I do think in the last few years, that door is opening and people are saying, well, I've never had a reading before, but I'll give it a try. And I'm finding that even if someone has never been a sitter in a reading, that they are sitting there and they're not sitting there skeptical. They're not sitting there trying to prove you wrong. They genuinely are sitting there, open mind, open heart, and they do find themselves a little surprised at the accuracy of the information, or a little surprised of like, so they do walk away with that. And I also do feel that there are people who are opening up to their own gifts more and more and are realizing that they do have a level of gut intuition and they are starting to follow that. And I do feel that I think what happened to this grind, this daily grind of going to work, you get home, you're tired, you only have a couple hours before bed, you wake up, you do it again. I think people are getting tired of the workforce. I think they're tired that they're understanding there's more to life and the experience of life than this daily grind of work. And I think that's helping people open up also. Yeah.
Yeah. And there's really no better time with the internet, to do something on your own. I mean, there's so many ways to kind of go about generating income outside of the norm of the typical 9 to 5. And it seems more and more people are striving for that. And of course, a book that helps people kind of guide them, because I think that's the thing that a lot of people face is it's intimidating if they don't have any experience starting a business or going down that path. It's like maybe they have a really great idea and they have some talents in this area or that area, but of course that's the thing about a business is that there's so many moving parts that you have to sort of get a grasp on or have help with.
Just being a good intuit isn't enough unless out of the gate you have enough money to hire a business team. You just being intuitive and doing that work, it's not going to be enough. People aren't going to find you. They're not going to know about you. Word of mouth is going to be, in this day and age, referral is great, but using that as your only source it's too slow. With modern media, internet, social media, there's so many other routes and avenues to help get us and our work and that message out to the mass public. Yeah,
for sure. Well, one of the things that you were very gracious to offer, of course, you do readings, and if people want to get a reading, they can contact you through your site, correct?
Yes, absolutely.
And you were gracious enough to offer to do a bit of a mini reading here today for me on the show. So we thought that would be a fun little experiment. And I'd love to hear what you have to say.
Okay, I think it will be great. Absolutely. So are you ready?
I'm ready.
Are you open to everything?
I'm open to everything.
Okay, great. And then the other thing I'll just ask is, as we go along, I'm just going to ask you if you can relate to that. So when I say, can you understand that or relate to that, just give me and your listeners a strong yes or no. Sound fair enough to you?
Fair enough.
Okay. All right. Great. So as I kind of just tune into you psychically, and as my soul connects to your soul, it's very interesting. I actually find you to be very mechanical, which means you have to understand how things work, or you're trying to figure out how things work. It's like just having an answer isn't always good enough for you. You want to know the why, the deeper meaning of life, all of that behind it. You understand that?
For sure.
Okay. And I also feel that with that comes some complications in your relationships, because not everyone wants to get that deep. Not everyone wants to kind of keep diving deeper the same way you do. So sometimes you find yourself struggling with people who want to remain on the surface of life. You understand that?
I do.
Okay. Now, what's happening with that, though, is you still can't quit. It's very interesting because I think there's an explorer inside of you. I do feel that that's part of your path. I feels like your path is really starting to, help other people. I think you're helping other people dig deeper, help other people think beyond the surface of things. And that's just anything, right? To look at something another way. What is another way I could see this? What is another way I could do this? And so you're opening the doors for other people. You're giving other people permission to do that as well. And what's interesting about it, though, is I feel that your message or the way you're working, you're going to take this even on a larger scale. So you do have this podcast, but I'm seeing another broadcast for you. I'm seeing something else that feels to me it hits more like of an FM radio or TV. So would you understand a feeling of trying to expand to either TV or an actual radio show? Absolutely, yeah. Okay, because that's what I feel is happening, okay? And it's interesting. I actually haven't seen you, but what's interesting is I see you in front of a camera, but you must be interviewing people almost like a host, So somehow what you're doing here somehow translates to a TV. But you also are creative. So that's this balance with you. There's this strong creative side to you that also needs to live and breathe. And there is this sense where you're very, very connected to nature. Do you understand that?
Yes.
Okay. Now, what's also interesting is, do you write in a journal or do you write in I don't know, for some reason I saw you like sitting under a tree writing. So, so
yes,
I feel like okay. All right. I want you to take these writings. I think these writings come together and you tie all these writings together. So do you have a blog, or are you already publicly putting these writings out to the public?
You know, through positivehead.com, I've written, and I have a book that is like 95% done, and I've kind of put it on the shelf because I have another book idea that I now want to release first, but I haven't gotten around to writing it. But it is definitely sort of in my to-dos.
Yeah. So what you have to do is move that to the forefront, because this 95% book feels like it needs to be finished. It just feels like they really want you to finish that book. Okay. So this other book that you're like, hey, I got to finish that book. You have to become just disciplined in doing it. You know, you can't wait that someday some time is going to miraculously fall through the sky. It's not going to happen.
Right.
It's going to take you to do it. But I do feel like these books come out now. This one book does feel like a tying of thoughts or a tying of your writing somehow. So that's actually what's really interesting about it. And, you know, we did, it's interesting though, we did talk about your grandfather in spirit, and you did mention your grandfather in spirit, but I'm actually getting a lady for you as well, because I feel like I see him and he's giving me, but he's also bringing a lady next to him. Okay. He's making me feel like he's standing next to this lady and he's letting you know that he's okay. He's letting you know, you know, I do feel like you may have some memories of your grandfather. Would that be correct?
Oh, yeah, I do.
Okay.
I was like 11.
He's making me feel like, you know, he's a smart person, you know, and I feel like he is this kind of person that you were close to, or makes me feel like you were close to him, you know. I don't feel that you're afraid of him or intimidated by him. So I feel like he's open and he's friendly. Yes? Is that right about his personality?
True.
Okay. But he also makes me feel like, you know, he would just sit in his skin. Like, he makes me feel very comfortable with who he is. You know, he doesn't make me feel like he puts on facades or anything. I mean, he is who he is. It's grandpa, you know? And he's given me this feeling around him. Brandon, do you know a Joe? Can you connect to a name Joe?
His name is Joe.
Are you kidding?
I'm not. He was Joe.
Wow. That is crazy.
That's great.
You didn't say his name earlier, did you? You just said grandpa.
No, I did not. No, I did not say his name.
Goodness. Well, see, it's him.
He is. Yeah, I think we have some proof.
There we go. So I just feel like what's interesting is, you know, I don't know if you were ever a Boy Scout, but I get this little MacGyver feel around you. You know, I get this little Boy Scout, okay. I get it, and I, you know, and I get this little MacGyver feeling around you. You know, and I feel like these traits, these little like these little adventurous things, let me figure things out. I think that makes me feel like it comes from him. You know,
interesting.
Makes me feel like these traits, you know, or things that he was interested in, or things that he, you know, so I feel like he just wants to step forward and he just wants to say to you, you know, don't stop exploring, you know, what you're discovering about yourself and where you're going is really going to help you change lives of other people. So, you know, have your confidence and have your courage, and don't be afraid of what other people think. Because I do feel that there may be some other people in your family that aren't as open to what we're doing and what we're exploring. But he's making me feel like you pay them no mind. You just keep doing it. You're on the right path, Boyd.
Right. Great.
So, and one last thing is, I just do feel like, you know, I do feel that you are going to sign a legal contract. In that legal contract, you haven't signed a legal contract for a program or a show yet, have you?
Not yet. No.
Okay, I do see you signing this contract, okay? So I do know that this contract will work out. I do see you signing it. I know there's, like with any contract, we have some negotiation and we have it, but it's interesting. I think one of the sticking points in it is you making sure you retain some creative rights in it. It's really important as to how this show gets done in order for you to agree to it.
Okay.
Great. Any questions?
No, that was awesome. Thank you so much for doing that.
Yeah, it is fun, isn't it though?
It really is. It really is. It was, you hit on, that's definitely something that I'm intending to do, is really turn the show into video production. And exactly that, having people on, interviewing, but sort of like a Tonight Show kind of thing, but all consciousness related, conscious artists, and that sort of thing, music. 'Cause I always share music at the end of my daily shows. So kind of tying it all together into a video production is my intention. And so I've, talked about that with some others to help how to bring that together. But it's still, very much like conceptual at this point, and it's something that I feel strongly that I'll do. I have some other, one of the things, maybe I do have one question. One of the things that I've been focusing on a lot of my energy is a business that's completely outside of this realm. And the reason I've continued to focus on it, because there's so much financial potential. And I feel like with that, I can do so much good in the consciousness raising realm, which is ultimately where my heart is. But it's been a little bit of, it's not been easy. It's been a little bit of me feeling torn. Am I definitely doing the right thing? Because like I said, there's so much financial potential there. So I've kind of, at times gone back and forth like, oh shit. It's almost like what you were dealing with, right? You're in accounting, but in this case, it's an entrepreneurial venture with, just like I said, if it's a sort of get it right, it's just such a huge upside. And take a few years of focus, and then I could probably phase myself out of the daily operations. But that's one of the things that I've really went back and forth. So I guess I would have that question for you, if you have any thoughts or feelings on that.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's about, so one of the things too, though, is, yes, it's got financial gain, but don't look at that as if, that is an inauthentic reason to do it, right? It's okay.
Correct.
Maybe Spirit is setting it up for you. Like, hey, you know what? We want you to do this so that you have that financial freedom. So then you can dedicate all of your life and all of your time to charity, opening up consciousness, touring the world, sharing the story, because maybe it is this particular success story that is the story that helps open up other consciousnesses as well. You know what I mean? And
that's what I feel.
Yeah. And it's, I would say we all have struggles. And I think, just because you wonder, is it right? Am I supposed to do it? That doesn't mean it's wrong, right? That doesn't mean it's an indicator that it's wrong. It actually means you're healthy. It actually means you're reflecting. You're looking inwards. And that's exactly what you're supposed to do. So I do feel that, it's like, just get it done. Focus on it. Just get it done. Get it to a place that it is hands-free. And then you are going to be able to dedicate all your time to the other thing. So I do feel like it's okay. I don't feel that, you're supposed to quit this and what are you doing? And you're on the wrong track. Like, and you have free will. So you follow your heart, but I don't think this is out of your heart. I think your heart says, you know what? I feel that this is right. I know it's right. I just know. You're just anxious also. You're a little anxious.
I'm anxious. You're right. I'm excited to get, the whole reason I'm not pursuing what you saw as far as the show and so forth, I could be focusing on it right now. And the reason that I'm not yet is because, I've got this other project that I really need to get in order before I sort of make a move up to the LA area where you're at to set up my, studio and all those things. So it's kind of on hold, but part of me is so excited to do it because it's, but you're right. This other thing is in my heart too. And especially as it manifests the way I envision it, it's it's like a once in a lifetime kind of opportunity. It's really, and it does empower me with lots of resources to do all these big projects that I've envisioned for years, And
it will open up everything else. And that's just how it is. I mean, I think one of the things sometimes people tend to forget is, we do have 2, 3, 4 ideas. I think that's absolutely natural. And in order to really get things done, you have to really focus on one at a time. There's that book called The One Thing. Have you read that book?
I have not. I've heard of it, though.
Oh, I got to tell you, I love that book just because it tells you, why multitasking doesn't work and how if you can focus on the one thing and prioritize it and just get it done, how it is the key that opens up the other doors. And I really have found that, like writing this book, I knew, hey, that's why I spent 15 hours in a chair. I just said, you know what? Enough's enough. I'm not going to spend 2 or 3 years writing this thing. I'm going to get this thing out. I'm going to sit down, focus, get it done. And now it's done, and that's it. And that's the same thing with you. It's like, focus on that project, get it done, and then you're done with it. You don't have to keep doing it.
Yep. That's exactly where I'm at. And like I said, for the most, and that is the path I've chosen. But you have those moments where you're like, okay, I'm not writing that book because of this. I'm not pursuing, taking the show to the next level because of this. And there's that anxious part of me because that's really where my heart is the most at. But like I said, it's such a tremendous opportunity. It's I've chosen the path that I have because, at the end of the day, all things said and done, my intuition is like, you need to do this. You need to do this, so.
Yeah. Good. Excellent. Yeah, you have to listen to it.
Yeah. So, but it's always good to get a little vote of confidence from someone like yourself. So thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. A little outside validation, right?
Exactly. So one of the questions that I always love to ask, and I know in your case, you'll probably have something really juicy. I love stories of synchronicity or serendipity or a positive paranormal kind of event. And so it's a kind of a go-to question. I always ask my guests if they have something good to share.
Let's see. Good to share. I mean, there's always so much good to share, right?
Right.
And I don't know about serendipity per se, but a little bit of an interesting story, maybe just about spirit, because I mean, there's been so many experiences that I've been fortunate enough to have. And, in this line of work, especially when you're younger and connecting to spirit, it's not always validated. Like, an adult can't always validate it because it's just the adult doesn't see it. But I was really lucky with some experiences with myself where a spirit would come to me and then I was able to prove it in the living world with a living person. Right. And that's actually been really cool. So one of the things that I think is just kind of an interesting experience is growing up, I didn't know who my father was. So, and I'd always wanted to know, but, my mom had an idea, but she didn't really know. So she didn't really ever tell me who it was. She was like, I really don't know who it is. And so, but she had a best friend, and that best friend, had a brother, which was interesting. And so one night, this man stands at the end of my bed and says, I'm your father. Now go down to the computer, and this is what I want you to look for. And
oh, wow.
I did. Yeah. This was a few years ago. I get downstairs and I start looking online, and I find this kid. I mean, so my father had just a very general name, and, it's like Don Smith. I mean, he's just so general, right? And so I start searching. Well, I find this kid who's about 10 years younger than me with the exact same name. And then I find that he lives in the same town as my family, which is crazy in New Jersey.
Uh-huh.
So
wow.
I call this kid, and it was a little bit of a hassle getting a hold of him, or getting him to talk to me, right? Because he doesn't know who I am or why I'm calling.
Right.
He said to this kid, like, the spirit was like, as I'm looking online, the spirit's like, that's him. And I'm like, okay. And so I call this kid. I finally get a hold of him, and he says to him, I say to him, hi, you don't know who I am, but I think there's a chance we share the same father. And I gave him just little bits of information I got. And this kid was like, he knew that information was right. He didn't know me, but he knew what I was telling him was right. And he says, well, what do you need from me? And I said, I need some DNA.
Wow. And, no big deal. Just some blood.
Might give me a little DNA there, buddy. And he didn't flinch. He did not hesitate. He's like, absolutely. But even in that moment, he said, well, here's my dad. Let me send you some pictures. And here's what I look like. Let me send you some pictures. And he sent them. And I could not believe that, the pictures of this father, they were old and all, but I looked exactly like this man, not a little like this.
Wow.
I mean, so it was so exciting. So we sent our DNA off, and when you're half siblings, it's like if it's at least 25%, that's a good chance you're siblings or half siblings, right? So our DNA came back, and it was 89.3%.
Whoa.
Yeah,
so you are similar on many levels.
Yeah. So, really, obviously Spirit is saying, you know what, we want to make sure you have no doubt. No, moving forward, you never have to worry if this is your father. This is who he is. And it was so exciting and fun to be able to say, all right, this is it. This is who he is. And so it's kind of neat. So
wow, that is incredible.
That's my story. Yeah.
So you found you found your brother through your dead father, essentially.
Well, I found out who my biological father was through him in spirit, because he said he's the one, and then he said, both. Listen, I'm going to show you who I am through your brother that you didn't know existed.
Wow. That's a really, really cool story.
Yeah. What was very cool for this brother, which is really special. So this brother really lost the entire father's side. There pretty much that entire side has passed away. And this brother, he thought he was an only child. So he thought for his father's side, he had nobody left. He had nothing. And then he finds out, wait a second, I've got a half sister. I am not alone. Mm-hmm.
That is a great story.
Isn't it a cool story?
Yeah, I'd say that's some anyone who's wondering if this woman's got the gift or not. I mean, you did just call out my grandfather's name. You did I think you've kind of proven yourself here.
It's very incredible. Cool. So yeah, that's my story.
That's a good one. Well, what do you have coming up for yourself? What's next? I mean, you're a busy woman. What do you got going on?
Well, next week, I'm so excited. I am going back to New Jersey. I have 3 shows in New Jersey, and these are mediumship demonstrations. So basically, anybody can come to them. They're audience style, and I will connect to spirit and deliver that spirit to audience members. Not everyone in the audience will get a message, but it's wonderful to see, how spirit works and the connection we feel as one. So I am doing that. And then that is the 15th through the 22nd. And then on the 22nd and then 23rd, I'm actually going to Florida, going to Orlando and Tampa for 2 shows there. So a lot coming up, very busy, but it's also super exciting, feeling really, really grateful that spirit has allowed me to serve them. I'm very, very lucky.
Yeah. So a bit of a mini tour. And I have a question. How long since the transition from the accounting world to this? Because you've got so much going on. Has it been a long period of time, or is this just in the last couple of years, or what?
Yeah, no, this is basically, I would say, the last 4 years, 3 or 4.
Wow.
And right. And I think that's all, that shows you when something is beyond yourself, when you connect with, or when you finally surrender to your life purpose, like when you see it. And when, who wants to go around saying they're psychic? Like, that's just crazy. And when you surrender to it, and when you really serve spirit for the highest good for yourself and for others and for spirit, spirit takes care of you. They open these doors. They create these opportunities. They want you out there helping and serving. And that's really how it's all happened so quickly.
Yeah, you've taken that leap of faith and you found it's a feather bed, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, yes.
What an inspiring story that you have. And, it's such a testament to the fact that you get in the flow with what you're really meant to do. You listen to that calling, you listen to your heart, and things just unfold and flow quickly and naturally. And it's such a beautiful example that you've set.
Oh, thanks. Really, it's definitely from spirit. It just took me getting out of the way a little bit.
But this is something that all of us have. Maybe it's not the same path to be a psychic medium and all those things. But if you're discontent in what you're doing, it's never too late. Every moment's another chance to turn it all around. And if you open up to your higher self, spirit, whatever you want to source, whatever you want to call it, and say, hey, I know must be more for me that can be more fulfilling, the work. And typically it involves serving in some way, right? Because everything's an extension of self. And so you put that out there. Any of you listening and you're in a place that you feel stuck, you're not stuck. You need to first take down the idea that you're stuck, open yourself up to the possibility that there could be a whole nother path, sort of a fork in the road in your existence can happen at any given moment, and then start seeing what sort of comes into your space as opportunity when you open up yourself energetically that way, right?
Yeah, it is really much about working through your own fear. And, to say, we do say be fearless, but that's kind of impossible in a lot of ways. I think fear is,
good point.
Just part of us. So, having fear is okay. It's just having courage to work through the fear, to have courage to not let fear stop you. And that's what I find. So even when I find myself afraid or unsure of the next step, I just surrender and I trust, and I find that courage somewhere within to keep moving forward. And that's about it. And the other thing too, I like to try to tell people is sometimes, because you're trying to figure out your whole life, you're trying to figure out all the steps at once, and you become overwhelmed because you don't have all those pieces. But you're not supposed to have all those pieces. You're not. So if you just take it a step back and say, all right, well, what's my very next step? What's my very, you're feeling drawn to finish this company, right? And so that's your next step. You don't have to worry about, am I going to be locked into it for the next 10 years? Don't worry about that part of it. Just say, I'm feeling a little drawn to finish it. I'm feeling a little drawn to do it. So, and just keep doing it step by step. And next thing you know, when you stop and you look behind you, you've traveled miles.
Yeah. Well said. Well, the best way to connect is through your website with anyone who would like to get a reading or attend one of your, live events or classes or all the or the show, all these or the book, all these wonderful things that you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. So the website is psychicrebel.com. They can go there. They can book appointment directly. They can see what my events are and classes are and what's upcoming. They can get the book on Amazon if they want. Leap of Faith. Put in Colby, because there's a lot of things called Leap of Faith. So put in Leap of Faith Colby, the book will come right up. And, I'm on social media. So Psychic Rebel across the board, Facebook and Instagram. So that's always fun too. But absolutely love to hear from people, and it's exciting. And definitely, I'm the worst at answering phones, so email.
You're too busy talking. You're too busy, like linked up to spirit. You've got a whole nother.
Yeah, exactly, right. Brandon, I have had such a great time today talking with you, and really hoping your listeners get the most out of this also. So what I wanted to do is maybe offer them a little discount. If they do go to the website, psychicrebel.com, and they want to book a session, have them put in a discount code PHEAD10, PHEAD10, all caps. That will give them 10% off any session they want with me.
Oh, that's so kind of you. I'm sure there'll be some listeners that after they've seen sort of your psychic rebel powers, they will be interested in taking advantage of that. So thank you for doing that. That's very nice of you. My
pleasure. Yeah. Thank you again.
Well, Colby, this has been absolutely fascinating to connect with you and pick your brain. And I thank you so much for giving me a little insight from your wise mind in regards to my own personal path. I do have one question that I'd like to leave you with that I always open with the same question and end with the same question.
Okay.
60 seconds or less. What is the meaning of life according to Colby, the Psychic Rebel?
The meaning of life is finding out and discovering and surrendering to the fact that this life, this physical life, isn't all that there is, that there is so much more, and that our soul is so much more than our physical presence. And although we have this physical presence so that we can learn lessons and overcome obstacles and embrace gifts in the physical world and to love one another and heal, knowing that whatever imprint you have in the physical, you will certainly carry that with you within your soul in another realm from here and beyond. And you are connected to everyone, and everyone is connected to you. And once we start surrendering and accepting that, we will have a lot more peace and love and serenity in this world.
I love that. Yeah, I'm fond of saying everywhere you go, you're there waiting for yourself. And everything
awesome.
is, yeah. It's all an extension. It's all a reflection. It's all a mirror. And when people get that, that's when it's really a game changer. And you start acting as if that were the case. You will see such a transformation in your relationships and experiences. And of course, you also touched on, we're spiritual beings having a human experience, not human beings reaching for this spiritual thing. That's actually our who and what we ultimately are. This is the transient moment, and that is the eternal you, right?
Yes, exactly. And it's just remembering that within you.
Absolutely. Well, beautifully said. Thank you so much, Colby, for sharing and connecting here today. And I look forward to we're not too far away from one another, so I'm sure we'll cross paths in person sometime.
You'll have to come up to LA. Maybe you'll have to be on Psychic Rebel Live.
I'd love that. That would be such an honor.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much, Brandon. I've had just a fabulous time on your show, and I really, really appreciate you having me today.
Likewise. Well, everyone, that concludes this week's interview episode. If you have enjoyed this positive download from our hearts and minds to yours, please take a minute, give us a rating or review on iTunes, since iTunes is the holy grail of all things podcasting. Your good reviews help us to reach more listeners. Also, we would be extremely appreciative if you would tell your friends and family about the show. Our sincere intent with the Positive Head podcast is to spread positivity to the world because we're selfish, quite honestly. I say that jokingly, but really only halfway joking. I'm referring to the good kind of selfish based on the knowing that we all get what we give in this life, because when we give, we're actually always giving to extensions of self, since we're all really one in the same consciousness, just in different bodies. So if you want to be a good selfish along with us by helping to spread the positivity, by all means, please proceed to shout about the Positive Head podcast from your rooftop. Otherwise, as you continue on your fabulous journey in this 3D reality, be sure to remember this. As long as you ain't dead, you're already positive ahead. Journey well, everyone, and thank you for being.